So in short, this is my review. Well, what happened there? Review, there we go. On page 39. Okay, and this is number 6. In short, what happens is that you all should hopefully realize when you're reading that there are 2 parts to that problem, even though it's written in 1 sentence. So there's one that happens to be a future value. So you're solving for a formula that looks like this. Right? And then it tells you have another scenario. So that other scenario, you just have to read it over and where'd it go? Is it under my preview? Oh, there it goes. When you read that over, page 39. You have to see what the second account is saying. So first and foremost, did everyone get this number correctly? Because I don't have that midway answer on my notes. I just have the final answer. So whoever this was, I'm sorry, I didn't recognize your voice. What was the future value that you got here?
222,963 and 16 cents.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. Okay, and thank you for reading it like that. When people were going 222,000, they confused themselves and they confused me. Okay, so the hints here. Okay, so hopefully everyone realizes that when it says then, more specific to this, right? Then you're now in a separate scenario. The first part's done, second part is here, and you just read the hints, right? Mm-hmm. So it tells you you place in a second account and you're at 3.27% compound continuously. Okay, and then you're doing it for 10 years. So this is a mix of what we went over on Wednesday in terms of like student strategy and how I would go about it. So before I'm yammering off, right, if you don't mind sharing, when you see these 2 pieces of information, that dot and that dot, which row should you be looking at in your formula sheet?
Well, for the first part, it was 3rd row, but that's when I got confused for the second part. We're going back to like the beginning. Is it kind of merging?
Not the super beginning, but yes, you are piggybacking off a concept that was from the first exam.
Oh, okay, so then I guess it would be from the 2nd row.
And then the first column, right? Right. So the most confusing part people hear is that they see this.
Yeah, right? That was what happened to me.
And then you need to realize that it has to be this formula or some version of it. But also the other thing students get confused about, and it's far from just you, is that this, becomes your new P right there. And then we're solving for the F. The best way to think about this is that, imagine if you will, that, yeah, these are numbers I made up and everything, but just say of however many there are of us here. There's 4 of us, right? And if you entered in good morning, I just started it right at 9 because there's no reason to wait. And I'm gonna post this anyway. So if you felt like you missed something, don't worry, it's gonna be online and video and voiceover. Just think of it this way. We all wanna put away $100 per month, right? And we do it for 10 years. So something simple, like just think right here. If you're not good at just listening to me, I'm just gonna say, just think. Dot, dot, dot. We put 100 away per month for 10 years. Okay, so keep that in the back of your mind right now as I talk. You're putting away $100 each month into some kind of savings account and you're letting the interest grow. You're gonna be happy because you're working either at an internship or you've been working for a long term and a long time where you can afford to do that, and it's good, and you don't what's the word I'm looking for? Sounds like squall, but you basically don't waste your money, right? You don't spend it frivolously. You're keeping track of it. You make enough. It's enough for you not to make a big dent in your paycheck, but it's just enough for you to save and not look at it and all that fun stuff. And that's a lot of hard work, right? We take the time to budget so that we can put away a certain amount every month. Now, imagine it this way. You just went from bank one, and that's me, right? I'm Bank Cato, right? And then after those 10 years, you go, no, this relationship is done. You're not making me enough interest. I don't want you anymore. So then you move to, you know, bank whoever. Okay, so that means this is after the 10 years. After those 10 years are done, you go, nah, you're not doing it for me. I'm going to move to a different bank. So as far as this new bank is concerned, right, all they know is that your present value is all total earnings from Bank Cato, right? They don't know that you put in $100 per month. They don't know that was for 10 years. They don't know anything of that nature, right? So to assume that, yes, this is an annuity right here, and to assume that this is an annuity, so assume here, that's okay. Why? Because it's 100 per month, right? But to assume here, that's a big no-no. And the reason is this. If you just came over to bank whoever and you have tons of money now because you pulled it all collectively, that means you have a very large sum, right? Probably have like over hundreds of thousands of dollars. You can't put hundreds of $1,000s every month when you just took the last 10 years to save it. Now, I know a lot of you are probably going like, well, I was confused because I thought it was all annuities. Yeah, the bulk of the information is annuities. But if I ask for a transition like this, you should still be able to recognize that, oh, right, it's just a formula from the last exam. And instead of flipping through your notes or whatnot, you know, you'll see the compound continuously and you have your formula sheet in front of you anyway. You just go, right, oh, yeah, it can't be an annuity. It has to be one of these two. Is it the one with the compounding period or one with the compound continuously? But other than that, once you realize that it is this type of transition, then it's just straightforward. But I just want to point out for everyone here that it makes sense to put money away every month, but all of a sudden you're going to move to a different bank, and that huge total, when you move over once. You don't have the magnitude or the resources, because I sure as heck don't, to all of a sudden put money away in this weird example, $100 every month, and you get some huge total after 10 years, and then all of a sudden assume that you're going to do the same exact thing, but a large amount, right? We don't have that kind of money. You know, that's a large sum that you're going to deposit one time and just sit there and let it grow because bank whoever is offering another interest rate or whatever the case may be, you know, or they were in closer proximity, or you move to a different state, or you move to a different country, you know, whatever the imaginary scenario is. But just think to assume that you amassed $1 million and all of a sudden you're going to move to a different bank and you're going to assume to put those $1 million away every month. No, it just doesn't work that way. Okay. But hopefully that clears it up, not only of course for the problem, but just in your line of thinking as well. What are the questions for number 6 here?
That was it. Thank you.
Okay. No, absolutely. I just meant in general. It doesn't pertain just to you, whoever's this voice is. And again, I'm sorry, I don't recognize it. Just anyone else that has a question on just number 6 right now, and then we can move on. No. All right, cool. What other let me double check Zoom right now. No one's chatting up a storm. All right, cool. What's the next question that anybody has that they would like to see? Nothing, that was it? I mean, it's okay if that was it, it's just that.
For number 6, actually, can you go over the accrued part?
Did number 6 ask that? Sorry. Oh, yes, it did. Okay. So remember with this one, there's 2 ways to go about it. So interest accrued, let me write that down for you right now. So this is just I'm gonna just box that out so that people don't get confused. Okay. And I'm gonna draw an arrow going down this way for interest accrued, number 6. Interest accrued. And I'll put here still number 6, just in case. Okay. Remember, I'm pretty sure I did this on Wednesday, but I could be wrong. This one, you take the total amount from that future, which was, and I do have this answer. This one is, so this is future in total, right? In total. So that's after the compound continuously component. It's 309, 205. So 309, 205, 64, 205, 64 cents. Okay, and then you're going to subtract your contribution. And then you're going to multiply that how many times deposited. Now this further piggybacks off of moving from, Bank Cato to Bank whoever, or in this case, number 1 to number 2, or part 1 and part 2. For this one, if anyone's not looking at the question right now, we're putting away, in this scenario, I'm gonna write in purple, we put away $200 per month, right? So this is what I would do my little dance in class, and then I would go, oh yeah, this is your pocket money, this is what's going away. It looks like you're earning money, but you're actually losing money because you're earning money in the sense that you're putting away in the bank. However, you don't see those $200 anymore. It's not in your checking account, if you will. It's unspendable or not spendable, however you want to think of it. So that aligns with this $200. And you ask yourself, did you put away $200 only once? The answer is no. You put it away every month for, in this case, 30 years. So in case here, this is also n equals 30, right? But did you do it, if you put 30 here alone, is that enough? And then most people do. It's a common mistake. It's commonplace. And it turns out like, no, if you put 30, that only represents the 30 years. You put $200 away for 30 years, yes, but not every year. You put it away every month for 30 years. So in other words, this is a 360. So this is the exponent. Remember, this is your exponent in your annuity. And so you have multiplication here. Multiplication. And then minus is minus. The only thing that you need to remember though is that, remember, this is the same exact way of how a future value annuity shows the interest accrued or how much money you made, right? Outside of your pocket depositing money. Now, don't go, now I'm gonna pause for a moment, not a long moment, but I'm just gonna say right now, if you understand this, perfect. It is the same exact thing, except the future value doesn't come directly from the annuity. It comes from the future, from your compound continuously, right? It comes from this right here in the Navy. So this F is where I pulled that F from. That's why I said in total here, right? So that's the difference, because you didn't make money at the end of an annuity. You made money at the end of the second account, okay? So again, if you understand that, pause for a moment and go, cool. Good, understand, and that's that. And you can ignore me at this moment right now. For those that go, oh, I didn't do it that way. What you did was you went in part one and you did the traditional future value minus R times N and times the CP, right? So that's one calculation. And then you went to the second part and you know that it was just this equation, F equals PE to the RT. And so that implies that the interest accrued is just the whole F minus P, right? So if you took these two and then you added them together, that would work as well, okay? It's just a matter of what's easier for people to understand. Obviously, you all that are here and you all that will be watching this in the future understand what it means to subtract these variables. I'm talking about conceptually. That is, why is it that we can, in this first method right here, why is it that we can take the total amount and then subtract off our contributions, whereas why do we get the same exact answer when we take the total amount just from the annuities and subtract our contribution and then the difference between the new future and then whatever you brought over for that second bank, and when you add it together, why does it work? Okay. The short answer is that when you move from bank one to bank two, you're not giving any more of your own personal money. Is it your physical money, right? This number right here in purple, 222,963 and 16 cents. When you move that to bank two, where that black arrow right there, this black arrow I'm talking about, when you move that over here, is that all your money? Absolutely. And that's as far as the bank is understanding, the second bank that is. But for you as your personal investor, when you move from the first bank to the second one, you have not contributed any more of your pocket money. Or in other words, you haven't given any more than the $200 per month for the last 30 years, okay? So these are the two options, sorry, right there, in terms of how to find interest accrued if you have one of these double dipping problems where it says, hey, you move from one account to another and then so on and so forth. Okay. What other questions? Okay, if no one's saying anything, let me go back to Zoom and see if anyone is. Can you go over how much interest? Oh, okay. So I guess that was Alexa's question. So I hope I answered that. Of the 5 of you, what else do you want to see?
I guess like my biggest thing is like when I open up the exam to take it, I don't want to be like kind of thrown off. Or like I just kind of want to know like what to expect, like how many questions and like of like the questions, the one like for example number 7 on the review, is there just going to be one type of problem like that? Because like when I was doing that problem, I got intimidated because there's so many like parts and you do the chart and everything. And
yeah, there's only one purchasing analysis problem. There's one amortization schedule, and then the rest are a mix of annuity questions.
Okay.
And you could pause it and come back to it for the entire week, or just like a specific amount of time?
Nope, no time limit. Just make sure that when you submit it, you have to either submit it by the deadline, which is next Friday by midnight, technically 11:59 p.m. because it's end of day. Also, make sure that when you save, there is a save option because there is a way for me to do well, not just me, but anyone that creates a Blackboard instruction exam, there's a way where you can hit begin. Sorry, I said that weird. Begin, and then you go through it, and there is a little button that says save answer. The thing though is that once you submit your exam, that's it, it's done. The cool thing though is that once your class, specifically section 806 or the Wednesday, Friday section, once you guys submit the exam, at the end of the day, which will be next Friday, you'll be able to see the answers and then go from there. But here's the thing though, right? Maybe I said this on Wednesday, maybe I didn't. No, actually I didn't, because I said this on Thursday for my other section. And there's only 5 of you here, so you know, the 5 of you will have the benefit of the knowledge. Obviously, I wrote as detailed instructions as much as possible in terms of what to expect and how to attack the problems. It's the same exact way as you do paper and pencil. It's just that now, instead of showing me all your work on paper pencil, I'm going to ask deliberately, you know, hey, what's this? What's that? What's this? What's that? For example, if you look at, we'll just use number 6 for example, right? If I ask you, hey, what's the R? You're going to type in 200. And then I'll ask you, hey, what's the N? You're going to type 30 times 12, you know. And then the I, you're going to write in I equals whatever the interest rate is divided by 12, right? And I write saying like, hey, use these symbols for meaning multiplication and division and all that fun stuff. So you're doing the work anyway. It's just that now I'm going to actually pick out those pieces and tell you, hey, type it in. And then what happens is that the nice thing about this is that it will automatically grade because I have expected answers. You know, someone might say like, well, how do you know if someone types it like this or they write 360? Well, I've already compensated right that. I already wrote it where if you type 30 times 12 or 12 times 30 or 360, all 3 would be correct versions of that answer. So there's that, excuse me. And also, even though you're submitting it one time only, I'm going to look over the answers too. And if someone writes something that's off, I'll correct it. So just because Blackboard wise, I'm submitting it and it feels very concrete, if you will, black and white, super black and white. It's not one and done. I'm going to look over these answers just like I look over your exams when it's open-ended. It's just that, you know, I just do it digitally now. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. If not just Michael, of course, but anyone else in that concern. So I'm still going to look it over. It's not going to be like, oh, that's your grade, that's it. That'd be a little bit foolish, because then when I grade your exams and they're open-ended exams, that's easy because I have to look at them anyway. So that's why you hear me in lecture going, oh yeah, I saw this happen a lot on the first exam, and I acknowledge it. So, but if people are doing this and then they go, oh, I got this wrong, and then I look at it and I go, okay, well, cool, a lot of people got this wrong because of syntax, but that doesn't mean that there's a lack of understanding. This is more so than ever that technology is being unhelpful instead of helpful. That's all.
Can we go over some problems that are more like concept based that you'd be asking on the exam?
They are more, oh, so you know what? Let's do this one. This is a good example right here. Can everyone pull up this right here? And then we'll do it together. Where'd it go? Work, FIT, 311, homework review. I'm going to import this to our note right now. So you'll be seeing this right now. Import, done. Not Zoom, not Box, Notability. Here we go. So now it should be, yeah, there we go. Perfect. So everyone pull it up on Blackboard. It's there under the content section of Blackboard. If you want me to see it, if you want to just pay attention to this right here, I can scribble on this. So this is a great breakdown as to how to go about it, right? So here are concept questions. Number 1, Who wants to answer that, please?
When it mentions mortgages.
So mortgages is fine. So my rebuttal to that is this. So I'm gonna call this student response.
Oh, when it's a recurring payment.
There you go. See, so see, that's perfect. So for the 5 of you that are here, the first student response. So I know it's Camila, but I'm just saying student response. Why the hell can I spell this? SP respawn ONSE. That's why. Okay, the first student response is mortgage. What is the problem with this? I'll tell you, don't worry. It's very limited. It only talks about present value. What about future value? Not all future value annuities are mortgages. Actually, in fact, none of them are. No future value is a mortgage because a mortgage is talking about money that you're getting now, whereas a future value, you're getting it later. So how do we know? We know to use an annuity as opposed to any other finance equation is that this or these are one time. And this has, again, all the words that we said, recurring, reoccurring, multiple, repeated deposits, right? And I'm just gonna write more than one deposit. Okay, so any of those keywords work, right? Recurring, reoccurring, repeated, multiple, all those things. So that's how you know for a fact. Because when we went over the first exam or just even learning finance in the first half of the semester, you didn't deposit more than once. Yeah, I talked about it in class in terms of, hey, who puts money away here every month for their bank or whatever checking account, blah, 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 this, how often you get paid, without being too invasive with people, okay? Perfect, so very great job on catching yourself. So I'm gonna say mortgage, and then on the left here, I'm just gonna say limiting response. Limiting response to only PV, okay? Good. So number 2 right here, it says, if an annuity is used, how do we know if it's the future versus the present, okay? And I go further here by talking about, I'm not referring to hints to identify whether to use future or present, right? So what are the identifiers? We talked about this in class before. We said future were scenarios where you save money, you're retiring, you're putting it away. There's a future tense in the problem, right? What will you have? How long will it take to do this goal, right? Like goal is a word as well. Present value annuities, right? The identifiers are normally a mortgage, a loan, you're borrowing money, right? We understand the difference between those two scenarios, but I'm talking about how do you know when you're looking at an annuity, right? That it has to do with, and I wrote it in the hint right there, that has to do with the total amount. How do you know immediately when you read the context of the problem about that total amount, that it is future or present? What is unique about that total amount when it comes to future or present? It doesn't matter what kind of future problem, it doesn't matter what kind of present problem, right? You could be talking about mortgages, loans, credit cards, whatever. For future, you could talk about, your father's retirement, your mother's retirement, your parents' retirement, your guardian's retirement, your retirement, a company's retirement, anyone's retirement, right? How do you know when you're reading it that the total amount is the indicator? Like, what is it about that total amount that makes you go, aha, I know this is future for sure, versus not? Anyone can take a stab at that right there after my nice little monologue about it.
Usually with future, they don't give you such a large amount. It's kind of like a smaller, maybe like $200, and then you're working your way to find the future value.
Okay, so for number 2, the thing is what you're saying or describing, I don't know if that was Camila again. What she's describing is that they give you they give you R basically. That's what she's saying. They give you R, the recurring payment, which is correct, right? If you talking about future, they give you a recurring amount, and then you're gonna look for the future. That's great, that's ACEs. But now my rebuttal is, what if you have a 2 trillion goal with monthly deposits? Right? That kind of sadly shatters the idea of, well, they give you a small R. I just gave you a $2 trillion goal, and it's already a goal, and you don't have this $2 trillion yet, and what you're going to be solving for is a smaller number, right? So think of, so that's a good start, and that's for future. And then if someone says, well, you get a small number for the present value as well, okay? You'll run into the same problem too. I'll go like, well, what if the loan is this big and I give you that to begin with and you're looking for the monthly payment? Okay, so it has to do with the total amount. I kind of gave it a hint already when I was speaking just right now, but think of it this way: total amount, future value, and present value. When do you get that total amount in each of those scenarios? Right? Whether you're working a future value problem, doesn't matter which kind, or a present value problem, doesn't matter which kind. My question now to you, I'm almost giving it away, is that total amount, right? That FV or the PV or the large amount, however you want to think of it, right? When do you get it for each of those scenarios?
At the end.
At the end is for which one, future or present?
Future.
Right. So here, for future, the total amount is for later, which means that the present amount you get when?
Like right away.
Now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right away is good. It's not, it's, no, it's okay. I'm not making fun of you. It's, I'm just chuckling because right away is good. The most simplified version of that is like, you get it now, basically, right? And remember the example I gave in class before. I know it seems a little mundane, but it's like your student loans, right? When you get that student loan money, it's like for a brief moment, they grant it to you, you sign all the paperwork, FAFSA and all that jazz, and you go, cool. It hits your bank account, you're a bajillionaire for a brief moment. So you got that money now, but then all of a sudden you use that money to pay for tuition, and then you get the residual or the leftovers, and then now you're poor again. You know, just rich in knowledge, if you will. So yeah, you get it right away, aka now. But yeah, that's the main difference. You get the large sum in a future annuity later. You don't get it now. You're saving it for later. You put money away for it now, but you're not getting the whole sum later. Present, the total amount, you do get that upfront. You buy a house, the bank's gonna loan you that money immediately, so you can pay the that you use that money to pay the whoever the hell is selling the home, and then the owner gets that money, and then you don't pay the owner, you pay the bank. Or the student loan example I just gave right now, or it's kind of like a credit card, kind of sort of. They don't give you money, but they give you credit, which is a form of money, and then you do that. Okay. So good. So if you didn't say anything during that time, that's okay. But see, these student responses are great. The more I ask questions like this and the more people are willing to participate, right? Especially now since we're not in class, right? I can't coax it out of you so easily. So you have to let me know what's in your head so I can point to you in the right direction. You know, would it be easier if you all thought like me, like I said on Wednesday, or at least took the instruction I told you? Obviously, then everyone would be fine. But let's face the facts, you know, people have a different way of thinking, people are wired differently. So I just need to get you closer, converge to the same pathway. So thank you very much. Okay. So for number 3 right now, it says, suppose you can afford to deposit 30,000 or 3250 every quarter at 7 3/8% over 20 years and 3/4. So for a bajillion points, what's the compound period here? This one's not a tough one.
Quarterly, so 4.
Yep, 4, or if you wrote quarterly, that's fine. I normally expect a number, okay? And then now, see, so this is an example of where I'll have like boxes for you to type this out, right? I'll say, hey, list out the variables and the respective values, right? Well, and if you take a brief moment, notice how these questions relate to one another, not directly, but they're supposed to help you. You're supposed to realize you're working with annuity, right? Once you realize you're working with annuity, you're supposed to differentiate between the difference of present and future. Now, when you read number 3 here, right? Obviously, it's an annuity, future or present.
Future.
Right? It's not a loan. It's not talking about a mortgage or anything. You're not paying back. And you're putting something away every month, right? So you have number 3 right here, right? My question to you is, what do you have? What do you have? Question mark, right? You have a recurring payment, right? So when you go to letter, what is it? Letter B right here. I'm gonna just draw an arrow going down here, right? You have an R, which is 3,250. You have an I, right? And then you write 0.07. I forgot what 3 divided by 8 is. 375. But look at this. Part A just asked you about the compounding period. I wrote that first on its own, so you realize that you have to do this, right? So if you're like, I think it was Camila in terms of asking like, hey, what am I to expect or what's the format? It's gonna look a little bit like that of the first exam that I posted online that you guys all took a while ago, right? And I'm not gonna move too much from that. But me, by giving you the Blackboard option, is that it gets graded immediately. You know, you're gonna see the answers immediately. I'm still gonna look after the exam, but I'm still gonna support you as you move through the problems, right? And then N is 24 years and 3/4. Oops, let me write that in purple. 24 years times the CP, which was 4 plus 3. Why plus 3? The reason is that it's quarters, right? If you got 24 years and you got quarters, you multiply those and you add 3. Or you could have done 24.75 times CP. Any of those would have worked. See? So I would say list the variables and their respective values, right? R equals, I equals, N equals, like that. Now, this one's really important right here. For letter C, how many total periods or payments are there? How do you find that out? So you do that already, but I never ask about it because you kind of subconsciously do it. But this is me now pointing out what you're supposed to do. So how many total periods or payments are there? If you don't know the exact number, tell me, how do you get it? Someone.
Can you scroll up a little bit?
Sorry. Don't be shy. What's the total number of periods or payments, right? Or another way for me to ask is, if you're going to put away $3,250 away every quarter, and you're going to do that every quarter, but for 24 years and 3 quarters, how do you find that? Come
Are
on,
we
I know you guys
using a
know this.
formula for this
I mean,
part?
you can think of it as that way, but it's very informal formula.
Okay. I know we have to use the, well, keep in mind that it is quarterly and something with the 24 and like dividing it, because it says like we can afford to deposit, so we're expected to have that $3,000. I don't know exactly, but I know we're
What I'm
dividing
asking?
something. Yeah.
Where no, that's okay. So think of it this way. Let's dial it back and think of it in a simpler way. I would, let me think. Sorry, someone just emailed me. I gotta reply this really quick. It is the following. Nope, that's not right. Okay, so think of it this way. If I'm going to tell you, hey, you're going to save $100 per month, and you do it for 2 years, how many deposits were there, or how many payments were there?
Sorry, can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, sure. Imagine if you, this is not, if that's Camila, this is not just for Camila. This is for all of you, okay? So in this example where I say just think, $100 away per month, right? But we're doing it for not 10 years. Let's make it even easier. Going back to the Bank of Cato, you're putting away $100 per month, and you're doing it for 2 years. So how many deposits or payments or whatever you want to call it do you have? $100 away, 24. And how did you get that?
Because there's 12 months and 2 years, so 12 times 2.
Perfect. Okay, now apply that same knowledge here. I'm asking now for how many total periods or payments there, and I just told you that we're doing this every quarter instead of every month. Instead of 2 years, you're doing it for 24 years and 3 quarters, or 24.75 years. How do you get it now?
I did 24 divided by
Are you
4.
just solving for n?
Yeah. So if you just told me you took 12 times 2, that's multiplying. Why would you think of division here when this is asking the same exact question, but the numbers are a little bit different?
I think I'm just
Unless,
messed up with the and 3 quarters and just quarters in general.
well, I mean, there's a couple ways to interpret, there's a couple ways to interpret that. You could, I need a different color. Yeah, I'm gonna go I'm gonna do this light purple right here. So this piece right here, right? There's many ways to, oh no, don't do that. There's many ways to think of that, right? That's 24 and 3/4. There's 24 and 3/4. Or there's 24 years plus 3/4. Pick your poison. Which one makes most sense to you?
0.75.
Okay, and then you take that and you multiply it by the compounding period. And I heard someone said, right? I don't know whose voice that was again, I'm sorry. But they go, oh, you're just solving for n. Yeah, that's what you're doing, right? You always do this. Every single one of you always do this. But now I'm explicitly asking for it. So it shows more conceptual understanding, right? You already know what the heck's going on, right? But when you go through it and then you're too robotic about it, and when I ask questions that are supposed to be perceived as simple, but then all of a sudden it feels like throwing a monkey wrench in your engine, you're going like, blah, what the heck's going on? So yeah, all you're doing is just solving for n, right? Because for a compounding, I'm gonna scroll down there so you can see just that number right there, letter C. When you're in a annuity, right? And when we were talking about compounding periods in the first exam, I would say, oh, it's the total number of periods. That didn't really make sense. But now when you do an annuity, it's supposed to solidify that understanding because it's not only the total number of periods, it's also the total number of payments too. You not only have that many periods, that's how often you're putting your money away as well. In this case, 3,250. Is that clear now?
Yeah.
Right? So again, it's nothing new. It's just, are you digging deep and really understanding it?
Yeah, I definitely like understand it now. I got 99.
I'm pretty sure that's the right number. I don't know what the answer is off the top of my
Okay.
head. Yeah, it is 99. Okay, good. And then now, so I'm not sure who it was that said, oh, what kind of annuity is this? And they shouted out future value. Okay, well, someone could argue that if you look at number 3 right there, you're like, well, it can kind of read like a present value. But if you just read the whole question, you can see right there, we're talking about future value, right? So now I finally ask you, hey, what's the future value account? That means actually do this calculation for me, right? Someone do this, please. I don't want to take all the work here and all the credit. And then it's perfect that I think it was a combination of Camila and Asia asking, oh, can you talk about the interest accrued? Well, look at this right here. We're talking about interest accrued right now. So now you guys should all be experts on it. I mean, subtly, but don't worry, we'll talk about it too. So someone do this, and then I want confirmation from more than one student that this is the correct answer of whoever answers. So thank you. And I'll wait. I'm also trying to download these videos that finally got published into Zoom and trim them and then also upload them to YouTube and all that jazz. So again, this lecture, quote unquote, or mini lecture will also be uploaded as well. So if anyone has already rewatched Wednesday's lecture, then that's great. Which one is this one? Section 802's lecture. Yeah. So that's Wednesday's lecture. I think I already did that one. Here, simplified to using number to multiply, and I rebut my. Okay, I see what I did. This was done April 1st, so that was you guys. So that's done. I can delete that. This one was downloaded today, so this one I have to open up and trim.
I got 8,99413.93.
I'm pretty sure that's right. Anyone else get that?
I did.
All right, perfect. Someone write down, someone please give me that answer again.
899
899
413
413
0.93.
93 cents. All right, perfect. Okay, so that's the answer. Thank you very much. And thank you for whoever the second voice was for confirming. Now going into these parts, part 1, 2, and 3 under letter D, okay? When solving for interest accrued, explain what that means in your own words. Okay, well, obviously there's not a single answer for this because a test question like this, I'll put a short response. So obviously you can't get feedback immediately once you submit the exam on this. However, once I read it through, I'll be able to go, oh, cool, full credit, partial credit, whatever credit, blah, 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 credit, whatnot. Okay, so who wants to take a stab at that? Interest accrued is basically what money or what kind of money?
Money that you owe.
Try again. Not the owing part, but
Like
owed would be, right. Yeah. Owed would be the one where interest owed would be the money where you would have to pay back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Interest earned in this case, or accrued, would be like what you said, earned right there. All right, good. Give me a second here. I'm gonna write that down really quick. Which color should I use? I'll use light blue. So this part right here, letter I, or sorry, not I, that's 1. That's Roman numeral, by the way, not I. This is money earned. Okay, and I'm also gonna say here as well, less contributed money, right? It's money that you contributed. Sorry, I just didn't want to misspell that. Less contributed money, right? It's money that you've earned, right? It's accrued, it's earned, but it's not including the money that you put away per month, or in this case, per quarter. Okay, excellent. That would be a good enough answer for me. If you went into more detail, then that's fine as well. If you went into, well, you can't really go into less detail because, yeah, you really can't. Okay, for what about this second part right here? How much of your own money, AKA pocket money, did you invest, right? So now you're looking at these details here, right? I'm gonna highlight them in pink. No, not pink because that color is too, I'll do it in green. So remember we just did the future value here. And then we did all this here. Okay, we found out that this is 99 what? 99 quarters in total. So my question again now, as you're processing this, you found out that interest accrued means the money that you earned that didn't count your contributions. Now I am talking about your contributions. How much pocket money did you invest? Well, how much do we invest every quarter?
The 3,250.
250. Good. How many times did we put that away?
99.
Well, there you go, right? 99 times.
Would the 99 be labeled as quarters, or would it just be payments, or is that technically the same thing?
It's the same thing for this problem. That is absolutely correct.
Okay.
Exactly. So depending on the compounding period of the problem, right? You just want to take that essence. You're absolutely right. Oh, would 99 just be the quarters or the number of payments? They're the same. If you went up to the first problem, number 6, right? We did it for 36 years, compound monthly. Then you go, oh, is 360 the number of months or the number of payments? They're the same thing, okay? So whatever this answer is, someone calculate that for me, please.
321,750.
321,750. Okay, perfect. That's your own personal contribution. And now, as you can see, it's scaffolding you. How much interest did the account accrue? What do you do now? Oh, come on, this is the last part.
Subtract.
Annuity, subtract, What are we subtracting?
3,250 and then multiply by 99.
We just did that. Isn't that the 321,750?
Oh, I don't know. I'm trying to look back at number 6 from the last thing.
No, don't look at number 6. Everyone should be looking at this page right now, right? You just found out that the future value is, let me use a different color. Let me use this nice smoky blue. You told me, every single one of you, and by every single one of you, I mean the 5 of you here, told me that the future value is this sucker, okay? And you just told me that, oh, interest accrued is money earned without your contribution. And you just told me you invested this much of your pocket money.
Oh, we subtract those two.
Yeah, come on, guys. Come on, right? This is the part where I'm like jumping up and down in classroom, you know, I'm doing my head explosion with my hands and all that kind of crap. Right now, like when I was lecturing the whole class on Wednesday, I was pacing back and forth, trying to really deliver the point home. See, this is how a good exam, even though it's remotely, online, whatever you want to call it, with proper scaffolding, looks like to me personally, from my graduate experience, my graduate studies experience as a student. Except I would be doing this in person and paper and pencil, right? It's like I build you each of these parts, and then when you get to it, it's just like you're supposed to remember half the things I said in class, and then it's supposed to pull together, right? Yeah, it's open note, it's all that fun stuff, but come on, it's like it's in front of you right here. Yeah, you subtract those two. So whatever the difference is between these two, difference.
Can you put the Roman numeral next to each like little part?
Sure, difference between these two gives part 3. So part 2 was this one right here, part 2 gives part 3. And then part 1 was this one right here. Oh, I drew an arrow, but I'll write it again here, part 1.
Okay.
Is that better?
Mm-hmm.
I'm spoon feeding you guys, come on. All right, cool. Now that we're done with this, now not all the questions are this long because this is a lot, but maybe some of these pieces are built into the exam and then some of the other pieces are built to another problem of the exam. So don't worry about that. But in terms of this format, what questions do we have here? Or, you know, are there parts where we don't understand? Because this is exactly answering, I believe it was Camila's question in terms of, you know, hey, we can obviously calculate this, but what more conceptual things do you need to look for? And I said that right at the beginning that it's going to be, instead of like a 90% calculating, 10% conceptual, it's going to be more like 40, I wouldn't even say 40, I would say more like 30%, 30%, what do you call it, conceptual, and 70% calculating. Okay, so of all of this, what other questions do we have? Let me see if anyone's typing any questions here. Nope, that's the wrong app. I need to zoom in. There's Zoom here. Hey, Serena's here now.
So is every question for the exam going to have a concept question built in with it?
I think so. If not all 4 parts, but 3 or 2 of them. But they're not as heavy as this.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I took my actual second exam that you're all supposed to take in person, and I copied some problems. I mean, obviously it doesn't help you because you don't know what my second exam is, but it helped me a little bit, but I did rewrite on completely new questions so that I could follow this format a little bit more. And then I also took away some things because I feel like it's way too, way too theoretical that we didn't get a chance to practice in class. So it's a nice blend, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you'll see it, and you'll have a week to do it. And then again, I'm not barring any questions for you all to ask me. It's just that I'm not going to give you the answer, and then you're supposed to really dig deep and try to go at it. But again, it's not even as heavy as this. This is just an example. And remember, I've said this in class before too. I always give harder examples and homework problems than the exam. right? The exam is not supposed to be super ass hard, even if it is take home, even though if it is open note. I always threaten that because, you know, students go, oh, can we do a take home exam? And I go, cool, I'm gonna make it really kick ass hard. And then sure, you'll get a week to do it. And they're like, no, we'll just get it done with. And then that's the point, right? An exam is supposed to assess your knowledge, but it's not supposed to kill you or anything like that. So yeah, it's not even this heavy. This is even a little too heavy, but this would be actually good, something good to give to my next class the next time I teach this in the fall. So, you know, it really breaks down, because if you can do this, when you take one of my in-class exams, you'll be able to fly through it because you're already doing this piece by piece, but this is really laying it out thick so that you really know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Right?